I'm honored to be in Hungary, so I'll start this a little bit different, just to honor our hosts and the country, which is our friendly country, our neighboring country, so I'll start in Hungarian. Kedves kollégák, kedves barátaim! Nagy megtiszteltetés a számomra, hogy itt sorry, I'm excited. Hehetek önökkel ebben a kihívásokkal tel időszakban. Örülök, hogy a Madl Ferenc összehasonlító jogi intézet erőfeszítései ilyen szép eredményt hoztak. Kiváló tudósok és jó barátok találkozását, ami mitől Európából ezt szívből köszönöm. Sorry for my pronunciation, but I really feel that this is important. I'm Croatian. I'm coming from just 4 hours from Budapest, from neighboring Croatia. And when all this started, I really felt that this is a unique opportunity. As my dear friend, Professor Savić from Poland, from Lublin, quoted me, I'm grateful for that. I don't deserve that attention, but I really feel that somehow, unfortunately, we live in two Europes. Also to Poland. And that we have to find out the way how we can operate together, because definitely all of us, from Sweden to Portugal, from Portugal to Greece, from Italy to Poland, we belong to European family of nations. But obviously we have developed differently for historical reasons, which Balázs was mentioning in the beginning. History is important if we are talking about presence of religious symbols and religious freedoms, and how we see values and how we operate in this continent, and especially in this part of Europe. The title of my article was, and I have decided to merge it with the fact that this is the 10th year of Lao Tzu case, and try to talk something about Lao Tzu case. But Lao Tzu case is not only about crucifix, it's about religion in public schools, and not only in public schools, it's about presence of religious symbols and religious emblems and insignia and narrative in all public offices, wherever there is a state flag on it. The title of my paper is, for the article part of our project, Our Father, In or Out, Religious Education and Secular Tendencies in the Public Schools of Croatia at the European Context. And the title of my presentation today is somehow different, but it's the same. Croatia as Italy, presence of religion in the public school system. It could be easily written, presence of religious symbols in Central Europe. What if, I was talking about that in Warsaw, what if the case about crucifix comes from Hungary? What if the case from Croatia comes to the European Court of Human Rights? What if it's not Lao Tzu? What if the case is, I will not mention any surname here. So Lao Tzu case is potentially case about any country which have Christian and traditional values in this respect. I'm interested how the margin of appreciation doctrine, which is used by the European Court of Human Rights, would be applicable to cases which are coming from our countries. Would be will be a witness of the same pattern, or just because the case is not coming from particular country, the court would reverse how their legal reasoning and how they operate. Our Father, the principal prayer, which is prayed and which is present in every religious ceremony, especially during the days of the bread in October in Croatia. I'm quite sure that many countries have similar practice of blessing the bread, was key, was a cornerstone of my research. So I'll try to read and talk to you like I'm always doing when I'm at conferences. As I said, Lao Tzu case is not only about cross, it's about religion in the classroom, but also about religion in the public sphere. In a heavy secularized world, there isn't any area where worldwides are confronted on a scale as it is in school education sector, especially in public schools. We, in so-called developed world, for the purpose of this paper, I will consider all of Europe as such, live in a world of conformity and consumerism, and there is less and less space for spiritual life. Not just as a matter of time, which people have to dedicate to it, but also as a matter of attitude towards religiosity itself. Believers are associated with the old-fashioned way of living and often ridiculed for their admiration, dedication, and piety. But at the same time, there are forces within the society which do not accept weakening of their spiritual life and try to keep their identity, which includes their religious life and practices. One of the most significant rights which parents have is to educate children according to their best beliefs in the worldview they follow. As a matter of fact, this is the most important issue, education of children. It is essential to understand that parents' freedom to educate children come from their dignity to believe and live accordingly to specific values which deserve to be treated with respect. The mere reason is that believing is an essential part of the very human existence and metaphysics of being who you are. That dignity is shared with children and transferred to them with the family as a core unit of society. That's important. Family, we have to insist on this. Family should remain the core of society, the pillar. If you see, I don't have time to go into this. At the end, every attack on Christian values or Christian symbols or Christian identity, at the end comes to one particular conclusion. This is attack on family. Sometimes it's so smart designed that you don't see it. But at the end, this idea of removing traditional identity is about removing how we perceive our families. Of course, there are those who would claim that being secular or agnostic or atheistic is much more neutral and that religious practices should be reserved for the private sphere, but they are not. On the contrary, being secular or agnostic or atheist is not neutral at all. This is also a worldview, but only without acknowledging the presence of the spiritual and or divine. It seems completely wrong to claim that being agnostic or atheistic gives more neutrality. It is also completely wrong to claim that being secular means being neutral. The latter is for two reasons. The first reason is that secular is in etymological sense includes attitudes which have moral and ontological and axiological value and are not universal and widely accepted. Secondly, this is not true in the historical sense. Secularity and then secularism afterwards has appeared as a product of legal thought of Pope Gregory VII, who wanted to protect the church from the attacks from the feudal lords. And secularism started with completely different intention and prefix in a sense of the source direction phenomena. This could be called a secular moment, a point from where the modern church-state relations started to develop. If we could talk about neutrality, we would talk about secularized society in which secularity would be its characteristic, a fair and balanced cooperation, but detachment of church, religion, and state. A modern world became a world of secularism with a secularized society as a characteristic, which is more negative towards church and religiosity. Religion tends to be unfairly treated, or at least there is a desire to treat religiosity as a private affair. All this leads us to position that religion is the same as sports clubs or friendship society. But it is not. Religion is not a sports club. Religion is so much different from all other associations. One difference is psycho-anthropological, which puts religion in the core of the existence of the mankind and human perpetual desire for spirituality and quest for answering the definite and ultimate questions. Second difference is purely legal, since historical pogroms which happened for the religious reasons in the first place, lawmakers of the world decided to protect it. It is protected widely, from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to the European Convention of Human Rights and Declaration on Human's Dignity for Everyone, everywhere, which was signed in Uruguay in Punta del Este. I was one of original signatories. I was proud to be there with Rick Torfs, Silvio Ferrari, Cole Durham, and I think one of the most important documents of modern time is that declaration from Uruguay. Aggressive secularism wants to erase religiosity from all aspects of public life, and especially from schools and university. The paradox is that those who claim to be most liberal and accept everyone do not accept anybody except those who think like them. This is the game. The question is, who will tolerate the intolerant? Who is and who becomes intolerant in this contemporary world? And now, our Father and the days of the bread. As I said, it's not only about the cross, it's about presence of religious symbols, and the conference is exactly about this. I said, as it was quoted, that there are two Europes, but we have to sit at the same table. The paradox I'm always saying is that the Western world, Western Europe, which had all freedoms during the age of communism, they actually had situation, they developed a special, sometimes even anti-spiritual atmosphere in their countries. Churches of Western Europe are empty, with some exceptions. Countries which were sending missionaries to Africa and Asia now import missionaries from Africa and Asia. That's a reality, and we lived in catacombs, but religion, it is also kind of paradox that in Eastern Europe we had repression against religion, but that religion was a window into the freedom. So today, Eastern Europe is breathing different air, or with different lungs, or with different lung. And we have to realize what are the real values of the West and of the East. Maybe, or I believe that the values are the same, but we don't see them equally. Under the secular movement which is present in the West, many teachers, and this is also about cross. Many teachers and professors, under the pressure of political correctness, start to use formulas which are more generic and less specific, especially when it's a matter of religion. For instance, Merry Christmas. It's Happy Holidays now. Not to offend anybody. Merry Christmas is replaced with Happy Holidays. Happy Easter is replaced with all the best. Have a good lunch. Enjoy your ham and hamburger and bread and sandwich. Enjoy life. Regardless the fact that there are laws which prescribe official holidays in Croatia and elsewhere, and those are unmistakably religious in their nature of origin, as Balázs nicely said in the morning. People celebrate, but even if they don't think it's religious, it is religious in its core. St. István, St. Stephen. Christmas as a birth of Lord Jesus Christ is a religious holiday by no mistake. Easter Monday is a celebration of the resurrection of our Savior Jesus Christ, and All Saints' Day on the 1st of November is not the Day of the Dead, like it was during communist time. Nevertheless, religious and non-religious people use their free and non-working days by forgot or are ashamed of using their religious dimension, days which they have as religious holidays. Actually, this paper could be, as a matter of fact, article about absence of Merry Christmas in our schools. Or this could be story of a lonely Christmas tree. Just have a tree without light on it, not to offend anybody. Or let's remove all Saint Mary's and Jesus figures from our stamps, not to offend anybody. Our Father as a principal prayer is taught in the school by religious educators, but also at religious shows for children for St. Nicholas Day or the Days of the Bread, when priests are coming to schools to bless children, and bread as the most important symbol of man's work and sign of prosperity and non-hunger. But in the recent years, there are more and more complaints, and much more complaints for having religious manifestation in schools. Most of the countries of Europe follow some sort of cooperation model between church and state. Croatia, like Poland and Italy, is one of those countries. On the contrary, there are countries which have state church, like United Kingdom and Denmark and so on. I'm not telling you things which you know already. Just to finish, I'm very bad with minutes when I start to talk, but I think I have 2 more minutes because I want to tell much more than it's possible. Europe is not a homogeneous place. Although we all share the same basic legal values which are derived from our common civil and Roman law heritage. We have developed in various directions and we have grown up under various influences and circumstances. We have to be aware of that and realize that there is nothing wrong in looking at this and things differently. As long as we respect each other's human dignity and ability to have values, even different ones. Sometimes those values will clash and we will have to find our way out of the problem in order to be able to live together. The answer to this question is simple. It was put in Wilder's speech in front of the Grand Chamber in Lauci versus Italy. This will be solved by tolerance. Tolerance and mutual respect for different worldviews, but tolerance has to go in both directions. It is a matter of the discussion between majority and minority and about prevailing legal culture of the country, which also has to find a way to accommodate rights of minority. It might well happen that minority in one country is majority in another one, which is just a couple of 100 miles away. Everybody is a minority somewhere. Everybody is minority somewhere. Mormons are minority everywhere except in Utah, in United States. But in Utah, 80% of people are Mormon. Judges, presidents of bodies, they are Mormon. Catholics, Muslims, Jews, everybody is minority somewhere. But it doesn't mean that majority has to remove all what constitute this majority. So I'm saying my notion always in all my article, all my work, I'm talking about discussion between and talking and understanding. Majority has to do whatever it's possible to understand and help minority, but minority has to respect majority. It's a two-way street. I have much more to talk, but I will stop just to say what is on the map. Here in Budapest, at Széchenyi Lánchíd, there is a beautiful heraldic symbol of former Austro-Hungarian Empire of old Hungary. And I'm quite emotional about that side of the bridge, because despite many troubles we had in our history, there were many good things which happened in all those 800 years we've been in one country. But if we can just put, not erasing, but put to aside those unfortunate events, what we build a mutual culture of living together in this part of Europe, Central European. When you go to Budapest or Vienna or Bratislava or Zagreb or any other city, Krakow, you feel at home. That's your home. You feel it the same way in all those cities. There is a symbol of, there are heraldic symbols of Croatia, of Dalmatia, Slovenia, Slovakia, Hungary. It reminds me that we can work something together. And what is here? Maybe one day people will be annoyed by the notion that there is a name of the saint in front of the village, Saint Goddard, let's say, or Saint István, or Sveti Filip i Jakov, or whatever. On this map, which I took from brilliantmaps.com, Pivšík, Gebala, Derillo i Čiž was, if I pronounce these names right, made this map. It shows all cities in Europe where there is a prefix of the saint. So is it the next step to remove the name saint because somebody may be offended, or we have to find a way to keep those sainthoods on our streets, in our towns, in our countries? Thank you so much.